he had saw him do it. That's the reason he fought his son. But what's interesting, he didn't believe that Jesus would do it for him, for his son. Because if he saw it, he recognized Jesus couldn't do this, why would he stop right at the one who, see, Jesus required something from him. All he had to do was say he believed, but guess what? He didn't believe further than what he saw Jesus do. So therefore he said, Lord, I believe, help thou my unbelief. And if you read the story on, the boy got healed, but it wasn't because of the father's faith. Let me read. And verse 25, when Jesus saw that the people came running together, he rebuked the foul spirit, saying unto him, Thou dumb and deaf spirit, I charge thee, come out of him and enter no more into him. And the spirit cried and rent him sore and came out of him, and he was as one dead, insomuch that many said he is dead. But Jesus took him by the hand and lifted him up, and he arose. And when he come into the house, he was coming to the house, his disciples asked him privately, Why could not we cast him out? And he said unto them, This kind cometh out forth by nothing but by prayer and fasting. So we see that Jesus recognized that the belief was just not enough. Amen. Jesus said, pray and fast. Why? Jesus cast the spirit out. But yet it was why? Because Jesus lived a life of prayer and fasting. Amen. How many know that Jesus had faith in God, who was his Father?
Amen.
Amen. So therefore, it was his faith that he had to use to cast the demon out of the boy, because the Father did not provide the faith with him. This shows that we can believe without trusting. Amen. If you believe, but don't trust, then your belief is just belief. In John 2:19, I read that. John 2:17 tells us faith without works is dead. There's a requirement, even if we're going to believe God, even as we say that we have faith, without works, our faith is dead. If there is nothing to back that up, then it is just dead. James 2:17, thank you, Pastor. James 2:17. And if we move on to Job, amen, what we're doing is saying, see, there's a part of faith that we need to realize that is very important if we're going to have faith in God. It is trusting God. Because the trusting has to do with, will we actually do something to show that we believe God, that we actually do have faith in him? Mm-hmm. And in Job chapter 1, verse 22, and Job chapter 2, verse 10, tells us that in all that happened with Job, he never cursed God. Mm-hmm. Amen. After all, he had lost his children, his wealth, his possessions. In Job 13:15, he said, though he slay me, yet will I trust him. See, many times we are saying that we believe God until something happens. And then after what has happened happens, then our faith now has been damaged or has waned. And well, I thought it was this, I thought it was that. But yet Job said, yet will I trust him. Even if he killed me, I still trust him. After all I've lost, I still trust him. And the error that we tend to make is that we put our total trust in man rather than God. And again, I say Psalms chapter 118 and verse 8, it is better to trust in God rather than put confidence in man. Has anyone ever been hurt by trusting someone who they found later to not be trustworthy?
Yeah.
Don't feel good, do it.
No.
You didn't go home and have an ice cream or a Big Mac after that. Wow, that felt good. Amen. Doesn't feel good. You feel betrayed because you were. You feel like, how could I have been such a fool? Because you were. Because most times, people have already showed us signs that we can't trust them. They've already showed us the relationship is not going to work. We've already seen things that, brother, we sweep under the rug. And so, oh, I'll fix that. I'll pray for that. They'll change. But then it comes back to bite us. Because next thing we know, we're getting hurt. But the thing is, true faith in God supersedes faith in anyone or anything. And why I'm saying true faith, because faith, as we put it in God, amen, should supersede faith in anyone or anything. Psalms 27:8 says, some trust in chariots and some in horses, but we will remember the name of the Lord our God. Mm-hmm. They are brought down and fallen, but we are risen and stand upright. When we put our total trust in God, God will never fail us. Mm-hmm. When we put our total trust in God, amen, even as the songwriter said, amen, our enemies are brought down and fallen. They believed in chariots and horses, but we are risen and stand upright. We can trust people, or should I say certain people, because we can't trust everybody. Amen. But we can put our total trust in God. Proverbs 3:5-6 say, trust in the Lord with all thine heart, and lean not to thine own understanding. In all thy ways acknowledge him, and he shall direct thy paths. Amen. When we can trust God totally, when we know there is nothing or anyone else for us to trust, amen, it should not be that we have to have our natural resources exhausted, but that is the truth for many of us. We try everything else before we decide that we're going to trust God. Thank God that out of his grace, that he'll yet be there for us. And then that, many times, that's actually what he is waiting for. He is waiting for us to have no one and no one else to trust, because then he alone will get the glory. Right. And he will not direct us the wrong way. He'll direct our paths the right way. Amen. And we will do, if we will obey him, we'll find ourselves blessed, being in his will. Mm-hmm. Our faith in God is proven by our trust in God. If we say that we're going to trust God, then we trust God. We do not lean on our own understanding, but we trust God. We await what he has to say. I don't know about anyone else, but I have found peace when I have prayed and asked God, and then I can wait on him to give me instruction. Amen. Where I didn't know what I was going to do, amen, after God has spoken to me, amen, then I know what I can do after I have prayed and heard from God, and I found peace. Amen? Mm-hmm. So the question I have, and I'm about to wrap this up, and I asked it my subtopic earlier, in whom or what is your trust? Matthew 6:21 says, for where your treasure is, there will your heart also be. Mm-hmm. It's all you're thinking about. Mm-hmm. Amen. All you're concerned about. Mm-hmm. Is it money? Mm-hmm. Is that where your trust is? Proverbs 23:4-5 says, labor not to be rich, cease from thine own wisdom. Wilt thou set thine eyes upon that which is not? For riches certainly make themselves wings. They fly away as an eagle toward heaven. Are you going to trust in riches that will fly away? Amen? Amen. Who will trust in riches? Amen. Go your hand up. No, don't take hand. How about people? Is your trust in people? Psalms 41:9. David said, yea, mine own familiar friend, in whom I trusted, which did eat of my bread, hath lifted up his heel against me. We are fallible. We make mistakes. We don't know everything. And everyone at some time is going to disappoint somebody. Amen? Amen. That's every one of us. Is it things or possessions that you put your trust in? Luke chapter 12:16-21, which I'll paraphrase, tells of a rich man who planned to make bigger barns for his stuff. Mm-hmm. Then eat and drink and be merry. Mm-hmm. God says to him in verse 20, thou fool, this night thy soul shall be required of thee. Then whose things who shall those things be which thou hast provided? Amen. He made the mistake of putting his trust, amen, in things. Amen. How many know that when we die, our stuff is going to somebody else?
Yes.
We can't take it with us. Amen.
Yes.
Is it maybe in education or status where you're putting your trust? In chapter 3 of Philippians, verses 4 through 8. I would just like to read that quickly. Book of Philippians, chapter 3, verses 4 to 8.